Hey folks, my guest today is Alun Evans. He's got 15 years experience in the tech industry and has a strong passion for building teams that create products to solve real problems. He was previously CEO at Share3D.io, CTO of BodyPal, and director of Barcelona World Race the Game. He's got a PhD in medical physics from the University of College London. Alun, you ready to take us to the top?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's go.
All right, you're now building Freeverse.io, which is effectively this concept called living assets. NFT 2.0 is what you're calling it. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think what's really interesting we've seen in 2021 is how the NFT space has exploded, right? It's heading for like 20 billion in market cap in this year, I think, from a few hundred million last year. And it's great. We're really excited to see that there's been so much of an explosion in the space. But I think a lot of the value with current generation NFTs are based on the speculation about how rare they are. And at Freeverse, when we founded the company 3 years ago, what we were really interested in is how we could generate NFTs that would actually have value based on how they are used. So how the user can actually interact with those NFTs and affect their value and therefore drive up the price. And so they can buy and sell for something that's not just speculation.
So give me your top use case right now. Tell the story of a customer using you guys and it's worked exactly how you hoped it would.
Yeah, so actually we're very excited. We're launching our platform to production next month with our first client, which is a small marketplace in Ibiza, the Mediterranean island of Ibiza. And we're very excited. We're signing a couple of deals. Unfortunately, I can't announce who they are. We're signing a couple of deals, one for a huge event in February next year, and also one with some super big IP based over celebrity IP in the United States. So we're really excited about that and see how that goes.
You've had 3 years incubating this, all pre-revenue. So that begs the question, how did you fund your personal rent, food, things like that?
Yeah, so we were lucky. So both myself and most importantly, my co-founder, Tony Mateos, had previous startup experience. And we had quite an extensive network of angels. And so we went to them. We've raised 2 funding rounds so far. We're in the middle of our 3rd funding round right now. And we went to our network of angels and pitched them a great idea to really transform an industry. And I think that's really important about
when was that first round?
The first round was in 2019.
Okay.
The second round was earlier this year. And now with the boom with NFTs, we're seeing a great interest from investors now. So we're sort of in the middle of raising our 3rd round now.
So that 2019 round, how much did you raise there?
We raised $500,000. So we're in Europe.
Okay.
And so typically the initial angel rounds in Europe are much smaller than perhaps you're accustomed to in the States. So we raised $500,000 from angel investors. Then we raised just under $1 million earlier on this year. Now in this round, we're going for slightly something bigger. So.
And so walk me through, when you raise that first round of capital, what's the story sound like? Is it the same story you're telling today in your new funding round?
It's very similar. The difference is now we have a product and we have a platform. We have client contracts that are signed. We have people that are going to use them, right? And I think it's really interesting when you're raising money pre-revenue, because you don't have, the standard KPIs and the metrics and the revenue and the growth that investors like to see. However, I think a lot of investors, especially sharp investors, what they're really interested in is vision, right? And if you have a vision that you are going to change the world, right? Then that's and it sounds a bit trite, right? To be watching too many reruns of Silicon Valley, perhaps on the television. But if you have a vision that you are going to change the world, and that vision is coherent, and you're a strong team, then that's something that investors like to see, and that's something I think that's been reflected in the success we found raising money so far.
And so, how is the team structured? How many co-founders do you guys have?
We're 4 co-founders. So I'm CEO. Our CTO is Tony Mateos, who's an absolute genius, 30 patents to his name. Very intelligent guy and also a very, very charismatic guy as well. So, and then joining us as our head of engineering, who's Alessandro, who's a real blockchain expert, and Ferran Estalella as our chief operating officer, who's got a lot of experience in managing large teams as well. So we're quite a strong funding team.
And obviously, if you believe you're building something big, you want capital to execute that vision, but you also want to be smart about ownership and dilution. So when you thought about that 500K pre-seed back in 2019, how did you structure that in terms of cap? How much of the company did you sell?
Yeah, around about 20%. So we've tried to structure every single one of the rounds following the standards, diluting 20%. I think it's very difficult when you are raising in a situation like that and you're pre-revenue. It's very difficult to control that level of how much you dilute, because obviously you want to raise more money to give you more runway. But the more you raise, it's very difficult to negotiate a high valuation for the company when you're raising so much money when you don't have that revenue. So it's something we line. Again, for this round that we're raising right now, it's going to follow a similar structure, I think. The difference is now, really, we have a product, we have clients that are signed. We're launching, we have a roadmap, and most importantly, perhaps most luckily, we're in one of the hottest spaces in investment right now, which is the NFT space. So we're very lucky in that sense.
You said customers are signed. How many customers have signed?
Yeah, we've got 2 clients signed up right now. One of which is this client in Ibiza, the other which is one of the major universities who are interested in living assets for tracking educational progress and your professional training. So one of the larger universities in the States has signed up with us. And
how are you charging these guys?
So we have a really interesting revenue model where we charge. It's quite simple in one sense. We charge a monthly fee based on the number of NFTs that are launched within the universe for the client, and also commission on the trades for each sale of those NFTs on our platform.
I see. Okay, so what is the subscription fee? Average these 2 contracts together. On average, what are they paying per month?
It depends entirely on how many NFTs they launch. So let me give you an example, right? So if a client were to come and launch like 1,000 NFTs, they would pay like €100 a month. So very low initial subscription. But that scales very quickly. So if they're launching with 1 million NFTs, and the advantage of our platform is that the advantage of our living asset NFTs is that we don't want them to be valued just by how rare they are. We don't want them to be these exclusive, expensive things. What we want them to be is that they can essentially be given away for very low cost or for free, and then evolved and upgraded, if you like, by the users. So if you imagine a state where you have like 1 million NFTs being created and out there in the universe, and that would be several €100,000 of recurring revenue a month in the monthly subscription. But it really depends also as well how much of those NFTs are traded, because a lot of our revenue predictions come on forecasts of how much those how much those NFTs will be traded. So that's quite an interesting duopoly between that recurring revenue and the commission in the marketplace.
Yeah, I'm trying to capture a sense of how big these first sort of contracts are. So between the 2 of them, how many total NFTs did they basically sign and say, yes, I want to pay for this many thousands of NFTs?
So they'll both be developing NFTs as they go off. So to start off with, they'll be launching a few thousand NFTs. The provisions for the contracts we're signing now to launch next year are to launch, several hundreds of thousands of NFTs. So that would be a much, much larger escalation.
Alun, I know, but the 2 signed today, that's what I'm trying to get at. So the 2 signed today, though, they're starting with like 2,000-3,000. It sounds like 4,000 NFTs, something like that.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So that means each of these contract values are something like $1,000 a month, $150 per 1,000 employees. I see. Well, but no, it's not that they're low or high. I mean, this is a big deal that you got your first 2, basically customer contracts signed. This is a massive moment. I'm curious just to hear how you think about scaling. So when you look at your revenue projections, do you think more revenue growth is going to come from the original trade of the NFT, the creation of the NFT, or on effectively the fees as those NFTs are traded?
That's a really great question. I think it's really important to separate in the NFT space that first-hand trade versus second-hand trade. From our perspective as Freeverse, we charge a commission on every trade on our marketplace, whether it's a new drop, a new mint of an NFT, or whether it's a trade in the second-hand marketplace. I think what's really interesting
what is that fee, Alun?
So that's depending on the client. That usually varies between 4% and 6%.
Okay, got it. And who's setting the initial value of the NFT?
That's the client, 100%. So they decide what cost they want to sell it at.
Got it. So if they decide they want to sell it at like a penny, you're getting 4 to 6% of a penny.
Yeah, but they also get 95% of a penny as well. So it's in their interest to try and sell that price, or maybe in their interest to give it away for free, right? To allow those users to upgrade that NFT so the value goes up, and then you're incentivizing the secondhand trading market.
I see. So what would the university use case be where they mint a bunch of NFTs last year and now it's 2023? What's the use case where an NFT is essentially swapping hands?
Yeah, it's a super interesting use case because there is no trading. So there's a completely different business model that we're negotiating with them, which is more based on a SaaS model, a monthly revenue model or revenue share model. So their idea and their vision is that the NFT is non-transferable. It gets assigned to you uniquely when you sign up for a course, right, or sign up at a university, and that over your professional career, the value of the NFT automatically degrades, or the level of the NFT automatically degrades as you naturally start forgetting what you've learned. So how do you top up your learning when you go back and study or you attend online courses? And that, I think, addresses a really huge market there in terms of not just university and the academic domain, but also things like the professional training in the medical world, in the engineering world, and the legal world. And I think there is a huge opportunity there that's been untapped for really proving. Imagine, for example, I have a PhD in medical physics. I did that 20 years ago. And to be honest, I haven't gone back into the field for a while. And so my LinkedIn profile says I have a PhD. And yet, what do I know about medical physics today in the modern world? Very little, right? And so that should be reflected in some sort of way of tracking my knowledge in that. Had I been attending conferences and publishing papers and doing more professional training, I could have kept that level and topped up that level of my academic records. So that's something I think that's a really interesting use case.
It's assuming the universities are giving you skills that are valued in the marketplace today, which I would argue is rare. More and more rare.
That's an argument to the debate. But I think it's not just universities. There's also executive education. It's professional training in various other fields, as we mentioned, medicine and engineering and the legal firm.
Fair.
There are doctors are actually required to carry on the professional training, and that's done in a very ad hoc way right now. And I think there's an opportunity there to standardize that field.
But 2 signed contracts, $1,000 a month. So you can call it $2,000 in MRR signed, hoping to scale in 2023. You've sold 20% of the company twice, $500,000 pre-seed at a $2 million and another $1 million on a seed round earlier this year at a $5 million valuation. You said you're raising now. What are you guys targeting?
We're targeting 10 million euros in this round.
At what valuation?
Again, so you can do the valuation is yet to be determined, but you can do the math, right? So if we're targeting 10 million euros and want to dilute by 20%, then the valuation would be around about 40 million. But we're still in debate with the VCs.
How does your brain wrap around that, right? I mean, you have $24,000 in ARR. So if you just calculate and do this pure on science, right, and math, right, that would be a multiple out of $40 million. I mean, that's just insane multiple. So what your answer is going to be is, well, Nathan, it's a big vision, which is fine, but you're also rapidly decreasing your optionality in terms of an exit because you have to grow above that before you guys can get any liquidity at the end. So how do you balance all that?
Yeah, I think it's true. And I think that's a really good point. It's a really good question. It's something we debated with ourselves, whether to raise money now, raise money later. I think ultimately it comes down to what we want to do and what the opportunity is. I do think that we have an opportunity to introduce something that's really, really groundbreaking and different in the field. Could we do that without having that capital? Well, it will be more difficult and it will be slower. And we may not get there in time. We may be beaten there. So it's a case of okay, well, do we want to shoot for the moon or do we want to play it conservatively? And in this case, we're considering shooting for the moon. Nothing's signed yet, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, what's the team size today? How many people?
We're only about 9 or 10 people working at the moment, so it's still very small.
10 people. So how do you spend $1 million? You just raised $1 million earlier this year. Where's all that money gone? Why do you need to go raise another 10 million now?
We don't necessarily need to raise another 10 million. We still have plenty of runway left with our team size. The question is more, well, it's not whether we need to raise the money, it's whether we want to raise the money and whether we think it's a good time to raise the money. Now, I think it is a good time to raise the money. The market is hot, especially in the NFT space right now. And with the contracts that we're signing with much larger clients for next year, with predictions of multi-million dollars of revenue, then we need to scale a team in order to support that, right? And also bear in mind, we've done zero marketing, really next to zero marketing. And so we really need to scale that marketing side, that marketing aspect of the company to bring the message of Freebus out to the wider masses and try and get that vision of living assets out there in the market. Yep. And that's something that we can only do with more capital, really.
Yep. Alun, we're out of time. Let's wrap up here with the famous 5. Number 1, what's your favorite book?
My favorite book is probably the first Lord of the Rings book. Sounds like a geek, but there I am.
Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
There are many CEOs I'm following and studying. I must admit, many of them are of the fellow CEOs of the funds that invested in us in our second round. But not a specific name that I can say off the top of my head. No.
Number 3, what's your favorite tool for building the business?
Wow, that's a great question. I'm a tech guy, and it sounds really silly. So one of my favorite tools is Jira. I put everything in Jira. I put my product roadmaps in there. I put my deal pipelines in there. I put everything in Jira. I can't get away from it. Number
4, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
Quite a lot. I sleep quite well. I sleep a solid 7 or 8 hours every night, and I'm pretty happy with that. I enjoy my sleep.
And what's your situation, Alun? Married, single, kids?
I am married with a beautiful wife, and I have one beautiful daughter who I both love very, very much.
I love that. Okay, one kiddo. How old are you?
I'm 42 years old at the moment.
42. Last question. What's something you wish you knew when you were 20?
God, that's a great question. I wish if I could tell myself as a 20-year-old, then I wish I could tell him to focus a bit more, and stop enjoying mucking around on his bicycle and going out playing in the mountains, and focus a little bit more, because if you focus on things, you can get things done. And that's something I've definitely learned in the last decade.
Guys, Freeverse.io got going in 2018. Think of it like living assets, living NFTs that can be transferred, or in some cases not transferred, but degrade over time if they're tied to an academic or a piece of knowledge that you learned or taught yourself. They raised $500,000 on $2 million valuation back in 2019 to power the initial version. Now signed 2 customer contracts. They're charging $150 per 1,000 NFTs you plan to sort of put into the world. They're signed again with those 2 customers, looking to bring on 4, 5, 6 more over the next quarter or two as they look to think about their Series A round, maybe raise 10 million on a 40, but we will see. Alun, thank you for taking us to the top.
That's great. Thanks very much, Nathan. I appreciate it.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, 3 hungry buyers, they try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue, ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it. And the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company, or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them, and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.